Okay, today I'm going to have a look at the chart of one L Ron Hubbard, Lafayette Ronald Hubbard. He was the founder of the Church of Scientology. So L Ron Hubbard was born on the 13th of March of 1911. He died on January 24th of 1986. He was born to the son of a naval officer, and his mother was a teacher. He was born in Nebraska but lived much of his young life in Helene, Montana. His father was stationed in the Pacific as a naval officer, so there was a fair amount of travel. He lived in New York City for a short time. He did not do particularly well in school, even though he was clearly extremely intelligent. He became a successful writer in science fiction, pulp, fantasy, and westerns until at some point he became focused on his theories of psychological health and hygiene. He enlisted in the Navy as of April 21st, 1941, became an enlisted officer. He had command over several small ships, but was censured for firing on Mexico at one point, relieved of duty there, and then he apparently dropped depth charges on what he thought were Japanese submarines in the Pacific, which apparently were not there. Either he misread his equipment or was making it up. He claimed that he had become lame and nearly blind due to wartime injuries, which he claims to have healed through his psychological hygiene methods, but there was no record of these injuries and they were not recognized by the Navy. He published his major work, which was called Dianetics, in 1950. And this is a recap from Grokpedia. The origins of Dianetics. L. Ron Hubbard asserted that the foundational axioms of Dianetics were discovered in 1938. He had a 12-year period of research, culminating in the publishing of the book in 1950. He described that he discovered these axioms. They were immutable natural laws governing mental function, derived from observation rather than speculation, enabling predictable therapeutic outcomes through the identification and erasure of what was called engrams, which were subconscious recordings of trauma stored in the reactive mind. This theory was not adopted or embraced by the clinical psychological world, which cited that there was not enough evidence of this working. However, his book was incredibly popular and sold over, I believe, 100,000 copies in the first year, first 2 years. This was widely embraced by the public, but for several reasons, um, L. Ron Hubbard basically decided that this was the public route of attempting to get this methodology adopted was not a good idea. So he instead decided to create a religious order or religion based on his Dianetic research. And that led to the creation of the Church of Scientology, which was announced in 1952 as a religious philosophy, and by 1954 he had established a church, and the church, a little bit of details around how this works. The um, Dianetics or Scientology works through an auditing process in which the individuals would undergo an audit of their mental health. So his theory was that there's a dual structure to the human mind. There is an analytical mind, which operates as a flawless computational device capable of perfect recall and logical deduction without error. And there's also a reactive mind, a subconscious repository that records the engrams, which are impressions of traumatic events that are recorded there. And the auditing process is supposed to, it has a trained practitioner or auditor guiding the individual through repetitive questioning to locate, confront, and erase the engrams, culminating in the person being cleared, apparently, of the reactive mind's influence, only leaving the analytical mind. So Hubbard, over the course of the rest of his life, basically, he created the Church of Scientology, and um, essentially he started to move the organization offshore. Essentially, he bought in the 1960s. He purchased three major large ships, and was able to basically focus his um, work into a particular organization called the Sea Organization, which on these large vessels, he was able to train and basically further his church offshore without the prying eyes of any governments. So, as of 1967, he had created the Sea Organization. It's an elite clerical order that enforces adherence to his administrative policies, which persist as operational guidelines for church management and ethics. Um, so this Hubbard, over the course of his life, um, apparently created a tremendous number of dictates, attempting to maintain the church and protect it from what he perceived were enemies of the church. So let's get into his chart. Okay, so Hubbard has a ascendant and the 30th degree of Cancer. This is a decan of ruled by the moon and by Jupiter. This is generally considered a very abundant and positive decan, but it brings about the question of what do you do when you have more than enough, and how does it change your life when you have more than enough? What sort of people does it bring to you, and um, what kind of life do you have when you have an excess, and who do you trust when you have this much abundance? Um, Hubbard's life was clearly spent attempting to protect very carefully his the establishment that he created, the religion that he created. And I should mention that he has, as you can see, a grand water trine with four planets in water. He has Neptune on the ascendant in the 19th degree of Cancer. He has Jupiter in the 15th degree of Scorpio, the Sun in the 23rd degree of Pisces, and Mercury in the 16th degree of Pisces. So focusing on his first house, Neptune in the 19th degree is in the decan of um, Mars and Mercury rule. Austin Coppock calls this the decan a walled garden in which Mars patrols the outside and Mercury is able to have clear and unfettered communication, um, protected by the careful watch of Mars. Now, of course, this is Cancer, so this is very deep psychological place. This is a place of human instinct, the realm really of the great goddess. So this we can see this as highly suggestive of who and what L Ron Hubbard um, is. Very, very deeply interested in psychology, and also creating a very strong dichotomy between what he sees as a pathological part of the brain, the reactive brain, which you could see that being Neptune right there at on the 19th degree of Cancer, um, really focused on these uh, sort of the instinctual, archetypal ruts of human activity and nature. Neptune, of course, is can be very, very delusional. It's a highly corrosive and very instinctual planet. It does give or can give a great deal of psychological insight, um, but it can also make things very difficult to see. And in Cancer, it definitely reflects an interest in the deepest parts of the human psyche, which clearly fascinated L. Ron Hubbard. So the first thing we want to look at when we have a native who's a Cancer rising is the moon. And L. Ron Hubbard's moon is in the 8th degree of Virgo. In the 3rd house, so the moon was in its house joy. Now, the first decan of Virgo is a Sun and Mercury decan. This is a place where you find many scientists and people who are deeply interested in natural law and the um, inquiry into how the physical world really works. Um, this is Mercury's rulership, and the moon here is she has triplicity, and she's in the 3rd house. So the moon in the 3rd house is this is not a place of transcendent ideas. This is a place of maintaining order and announcing the agenda of the night sect to people who are of blood or of in the close um, in close relationship to the native. So this is a leadership um, oriented placement. And L. Ron Hubbard was also born about a day before the full moon. So his sun is in Pisces. So the sun in his chart had a great deal of, or the moon had a great deal of light, rather, almost full. So the sun was also in its joy in the 9th house. So these are the luminaries in very strong leadership positions. The sun looking to find philosophy, looking for natural law, looking to create transcendence and structures and um, a insight into the what L Ron Hubbard would call, these aspects of the analytical mind. Um, and the moon is placed to be able to uh, essentially give out the commands to the people who are um, under his command. So the moon, as I said, in Virgo, this is the sign of the Virgin of the Core. This is a extremely powerful archetype within traditional thinking. This is the place of great abundance, and we can see in his 11th house that he has Saturn in a trine to the moon. Um, so this further connects the social houses, and Saturn in Taurus in the 11th is in the sign of the moon's exaltation. So this is a tight connection between the 11th house, which is, of course, in the above the horizon. So it's more oriented towards um, the outer world, the public world, and it also gives a more Saturnian aspect to the 11th house, where we would find L. Ron Hubbard's peers, his colleagues, his congregation, people of like mind, people who want similar things to what Hubbard wanted. So, a very strong connection between his third house and his 11th house. So, looking to his seventh house now, to Capricorn, he has Mars in almost direct opposition to his ascendant. So his Mars is in the final degree of Capricorn, ruled by Saturn in the 11th house. Mars is in the seventh, and Mars hates the seventh. Mars does not like dealing with close relationships or social situations in general. But Mars is extremely powerful in this chart. So Mars is just past his degree of exaltation, which is the 28th degree of Capricorn. Mars is exalted. Um, so Mars in Capricorn is of extraordinary power because this is a fertility god, and he is exalted sort of in an occulted way. It's because he follows the sun as being sort of uh, the the fertility god of the night sect, who is the gateway, the gatekeeper to the solar world. So the sun is reborn in Capricorn, and Mars is therefore exalted as the fertility god, which the sun is, of course, a fertility god as well. Um, but Mars is extraordinarily powerful in Capricorn under Saturn's rule. This is a time of year when the life force is underground, and the fertility god is able to focus more on efficiency. So this is the soldier who is tightly under control of the lawmaker, the archetypal ruler of Saturn, of rather of Capricorn, which is Saturn. He is the enforcer of the rules and the contracts and the laws of the sky god. So Mars, as exalted soldier within Capricorn, is capable of and focused on enforcing the laws. Mars, as I said, hates the seventh. So this is a rather uncomfortable place, probably for anybody who was very close to Hubbard, his significant others, or other people who were in his very close um, circle. And this is, you can see that his auditing, his intense interrogational processes that he used with members of his church probably came from something that he does to his very close compatriots. Um, it's highly potentially paranoid. Um, and also, Mars here in the seventh house is separating very closely from a conjunction with Uranus. Uranus in Capricorn. Now, Uranus is castrated sky god. He was castrated by Saturn, and this is both an act of violence and usurpation, but it's also a ritual that the galley priests would go through. Priests would go through a ritual castration after they had had children, sort of as a detachment from the world of the goddess, where they were no longer sort of involved in the sexual politics that is life, or that is ideally what they were thinking. So what Uranus does is Uranus really is a detachment. It's a detached archetype. It's not focused on the rules of other people. It's very potentially eccentric, and following a higher perceived purpose that's may not be understood by others around them. So it has that same effect of being cold and potentially seeming quite brilliant, but also very detached and not really clued in necessarily socially to what other people are um, interested in. So this has the effect of making Mars a lot less, potentially less willing to follow other people's rules. It doesn't necessarily make him less disciplined, but we can see, as I mentioned, by his time in the Navy, he uh, failed to follow orders and went ahead and acted without proper authorization, which you could see that this Mars is quite prone to do this. But that doesn't mean he's not following his own ideas and his own rules, essentially. So Mars in the seventh is particularly important in the start because he rules the 10th house, which is Aries, which is where Hubbard's midheaven was. Uh, Conjunct Venus, his midheaven being in the 14th degree of Aries, and his Venus being in the 18th degree, just shy of the Sun's degree of exaltation in Aries. The midheaven and Venus were in the second decan of Aries, which is a solar decan, very interested in appearance and leadership, being very solar, appearing to be a like the emperor, but very martial as well. His time in the Navy and his aspiration to make Scientology into a paramilitary organization. We can see that that's clearly indicated by his Mars and his 10th house. The Scientology became essentially a paramilitary uh, organization with a very uh, highly organized and disciplined group of um, sort of priest warriors that uh, Hubbard had trained very carefully himself and maintained an extremely high level of discipline and control over these people, which again we can see with Saturn in his 11th house, Mars in the 7th, Mars ruling the 10th. And I should also say that Mars is in a Sun slash Mercury decan of Capricorn, the final decan, and this is the decan of the CEO. This is the seat of great power here, where the person makes um, extremely important decisions, and the word of this solar and mercurial person has incredible weight. But it's also a position that is highly coveted, and many people are interested in having that type of power. So this is a place potentially of great paranoia, especially again with that Uranus there. That's a having been castrated, you're probably expecting more attacks. So what else can we say? Jupiter is in the fifth house in his decan. Actually, Jupiter is in Scorpio in the second decan, which is, as I said, a Jupiter ruled, Sun ruled decan. Obviously, the whole of Scorpio is ruled by Mars. So again, we have another strong martial influence in his fifth house. This is a decan of alchemy. The Sun and Jupiter are, it's a very sexual decan too, sex magic. This is a place where we bring together unlike elements, and they were able to alchemically change those things into something um, greater than there was. Again, this is highly suggestive of his ideas of mind, his theories of mind, where there's a sort of this alchemical process that he believed he was putting people through in order to separate out those things that are conflicted and not potentially dangerous to the person. Scorpio is a place where conflicted emotions and psychological problems are addressed. And his Jupiter there is obviously poised to do just that. Now, his Sun is in the final decan of Pisces in the ninth house. Again, this is the Sun in its joy. So the Sun is in a place of leadership where it's able to tell the members of the day sect how they should proceed. So Sun, Moon in the third and the ninth. Again, this is a highly powerful leadership chart. The final decan of Pisces is a Mars decan. Obviously, Pisces being ruled overall by Jupiter. So this is expansive. It's got a very cathartic sort of aspect to it. Um, Jupiter is very self-sacrificing, um, and also very much looking for the great goddess, looking for towards the goddess becoming flesh. So there's a great deal of pent up energy in Pisces. It's like a womb of the mother that is really about ready to give birth. And this decan is generally considered a pretty positive decan in some ways, like the final decan of Cancer, where his ascendant is. But this decan is, we can think of this as like when you've gone all the way around the zodiac and you're nearly at the very end. Um, you're all in. This is where you're completely in, and there's no backing out. The finish line's right there, and so no matter what you see, no matter what goes on, you're gonna stick to your guns, and you're fully in. You may be wrong. You may have realized that in these last moments that you should have done things differently, or maybe you just don't want to know at this point. Again, this is a Mars orientation, so Mars is going to put his head down and you know force his way forward. Mars is considered to be the only archetype that has the strength to pull through this time of year, which is why the decan on the other side in Aries is also a Mars decan. So this is this is a Pisces is obviously a very psychological, very interested in beliefs, religion, the parts of us that allow us to get through the adversity of life. And Pisces, we have already, Pisces season is at the end of winter, a time when we are, in many ways, sick of the cold, and we really are dreaming of the life beyond the winter. So his Mercury was in the 16th degree of Pisces, also in the ninth house, very focused on philosophy, obviously, on the structure of how the human mind works. And Mercury is in his fall in Pisces. This does not mean that an individual is not smart or not extraordinarily capable, as obviously Hubbard was. And a Mercury in Pisces in the ninth house is a pretty good predictor of being a science fiction writer, being very capable of inventing worlds and seeing fantastic creative possibilities, and also very mythic ideas. When we have Mercury under Jupiter rule, this is often a mythmonger, somebody who's very interested in creating mythological stories. And next to the sun, this is very much folded into this solar idea of the individual's own mythology, creating that mythology. The second decan of Pisces is what Austin Coppock calls the decan, I believe, of the net. The net is the symbol here. It's a moon and Jupiter decan, generally considered very positive. Whenever you have the moon and Jupiter together, this is very good for fertility, for the creation, insemination of ideas, and it's predictably, this is a decan that you will find people who would be gurus. This is the broadcasting of a religious message, and fusing that with the feminine, lunar, receptive flesh. So this is where the word of the god becomes impregnated into the fertile body of the goddess. So what else can we say? L Ron Hubbard had Pluto in his 12th house in the final decan of Gemini. Pluto, I have said before, Pluto is sort of a hybrid archetype of Saturn and Mars, the two characters, the two malefics put together, the ruler of the underworld in the 12th house. I consider Pluto and Saturn to be strongly overlapped, and the zodiac tells us that as well. That obviously there was no Pluto at the time. Nobody knew that it existed, so Saturn basically carries at least half, if not more, of Pluto's signification as the ruler of the underworld. So Pluto will perform archetypally properly in the 12th house, just as Saturn will. This Pluto in the 12th is definitely concerned about hidden enemies. Hubbard was incredibly paranoid about people, especially governments, infiltrating his organization. So he actually infiltrated the U.S. government with many of his followers and was attempting to um, influence some investigations, prevent any kind of interference or litigation of Scientology by the U.S. government. And his offices were actually raided in 1978 to once the government found out that they had in fact been infiltrated. So this is the chart of a cult leader. This is a very classic chart, very appropriate. I found his chart to be incredibly instructive in terms of understanding how some of these placements are particularly appropriate. And if you've checked out my Substack, it's my belief that the zodiac is in fact a religious symbol, and it has much more encoded in it about religion. And when we come across people like Hubbard, who were in fact the leaders of cults, then you can see exactly how this plays out.